I'm so sorry. I was muted. No, I'm doing it. I'm doing that right now. Albert and Kate. Albert Parapusa, right? Okay.
Wait, am I joining the tab room or the Zoom link for the debate?
The Zoom one, you're in the right place.
All right.
Sorry, my Zoom decided to install updates in the 5 minutes since we were last in the Zoom link, so I'm sorry I'm a little late here.
You good? I'm just waiting on Brian to see if they're flipping for sides. Nope, they are not. Kate, you will be pro, and Albert, you will be con.
Give me 1 second. I have to grab a phone charger. Or not phone charger, laptop charger.
So who was code 100? I've got 100 and 108. Do y'all remember what your code was?
Yeah, I think I'm 100.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 100.
You're 108, Albert?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we've got Kate versus Albert, and just to clarify one more time. So Kate, you're on the pro, and your code, remind me what your code is. I know you just told me, I apologize.
It's 100.
You're 100. And then Albert, you're on the con as 108. Beautiful. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get this round started, guys. I'm Marissa. I'm one of the Capital coaches. I've seen both of you guys several times. I'll let Gabby and Nicole introduce themselves as well. And then we will go ahead and get this final round started. Congratulations on making it to the finals today, guys. and on your speaker awards. I know that you both did very well. And so, like I said, congratulations for being here, and I'll let Gabby and Nicole introduce themselves as well.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm also another coach with Capital. I have judged both of you at least once or twice this tournament, so I'm familiar with y'all. Yeah, so I'm wishing you all good luck. I know it'll be a great round, and the last round was awesome, so I'm looking forward to having another great round to judge. So good luck to both of you.
Echoing what Gabby and Marissa said, I'm Nicole. I've also coached during this club league over the weekdays. So I have also seen Albert and Kate, last round, and they've been wonderful. So I'm excited that this is the last round and they're going to do a wonderful job. Good luck and congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. And so you can see that there are some other staff members in here as well. We're also streaming this round on YouTube, so families and friends can watch it. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. And so Albert, I'm so sorry, Kate, we're going to begin with you on the pro. You have 4 minutes for your opening speech.
Don't we have to like shark note cards?
Oh, yes, you do. Thank you for that reminder. I guess I just figure we've gotten this far, but yes, go ahead and show us your note cards. Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no. Okay, I think my connection could go.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Gabby and Nicole, I missed it. Did you see any issues with their note cards? Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Kate, you are on the pro. You've got 4 minutes for your opening speech. And we are ready whenever you are.
Awesome. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Matthew Langton, then 16, endured years of brutal treatment at a renowned football club, trying, like all others in his club, to achieve his ultimate goal of becoming a top athlete. However, he was only met with neglect and abuse by his coaches, and at age 20, after years of suffering, he committed suicide. And this isn't such an uncommon headline. In fact, it's one we see all over the news of teens committing suicide, but specifically of those participating in competitive sports. Thus, I stand resolved that participation in K-12 competitive sports does more harm than good for 2 reasons: external stress and personal identity. External stress stems from 2 main sources: the parent and the coach. It looks like a parent who believes that endless practice equals the best results. Thus, they put too much emphasis on winning every single game and attending every single practice. This pressure may be unintentional, but it still yields the same harmful consequences. This also looks like a coach who belittles those who underperform and subjects student athletes to insults that are both personal and inappropriate. Matthew Langton's father told The Athletic that clubs treat these lads like cannon fodder. They just want the next big star. And it's reported that 50 to 75% of student athletes experience abusive coaches. This means that the majority of student athletes are ignored and they're underappreciated. They're taught that they just have to suck things up for a chance to achieve their dream, and they're placed in a hostile environment where they're not aware that there's support available to them. Or if they are, they feel like they'll be ostracized for taking that support. However, it's not just external influences that harm a student's well-being, but also internal influences, which brings me to my second point: personal identity. Obviously, sports are an incredibly important part of a student athlete's identity, because this isn't just a hobby, and it's not just a source for physical exercise. It's a passion that they have spent years pursuing, and they've been in sports clubs, strength training, they've been going to tournaments every single weekend, and they've been in 2 to 3 athletic teams per season. And this is because the goal of competitive sports is to win. And along with it, there's been mounting pressure to get into junior varsity, pursue an athletic scholarship, and ultimately become a professional athlete. This means that a student athlete's self-worth is directly tied to their performance, and this is something only exacerbated by abusive coaches and parents. In fact, it's reported that 70% of student athletes quit their competitive sport of choice by the time they finish high school, and the Atlantic newspaper reports that anxiety has been going up at an exponential rate in student athletes in comparison to non-athletes. But mental health isn't just some vague issue that we can skirt around, because it results in some very real life harms. The US National Library of Medicine states that 82% of student athletes binge drink and 31% use drugs, a third of the student athlete population, which is far greater than the 8% of the average non-athlete student. The fact that they're using these coping mechanisms put them at risk of engaging in self-harm and committing suicide, and they're already exposing themselves to risks of heightened blood pressure, of heart disease, and of growth issues. In conclusion, I affirm the resolution that participation in competitive sports does more harm than good because of external stress and personal identity. Judge, I urge you to remember Matthew Langton and his struggle to survive in an abusive and degrading environment, and the millions of kids just like him. We cannot continue to let student athletes believe that the only thing that defines them is their performance. Thus, I ask you to vote for Pro. Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you, Kate.
You're cutting out for me.
You
Okay,
have
I can-
2 minutes for cross-examination, Albert.
All right. Let me get my timer ready. All right, so I'll begin in 3, 2, 1, go. So you started in your first contention by talking about how there's external stress on a lot of these students in competitive sports, and you can also talk about how parents and coaches attend every single game, but how can you be so sure that this happens all the time and that parents are always watching their students' progress in varsity sports?
Well, I can't be sure that this applies to 100% of the parents and the coaches, but I did give the statistic that 50 to 75% of student athletes experience abusive coaches, which is a very large majority of the student athlete population. Thus, I believe that my claims apply to the majority of student athletes.
All right, staying on your first contention, you also talk about how students, their main goal in terms of competitive sports is to win, but don't you agree that beyond winning, they also want to try and have fun and expand their social skills and
That
communication?
That may be the original goal of student athletes, but as I explained, when they're under immense pressure from parents, when coaches pit them against one another, and when coaches make them feel like they can only win and they're not allowed to lose and learn from their mistakes, then this goal of winning becomes the only thing that defines their self-esteem and the only thing that they can compare themselves to. And thus, it leads to very unhealthy coping mechanisms, like I explained, alcohol and drugs.
All right, moving on to your second contention, you talk about how up to 70% of student athletes quit their sport, but don't you agree that in some cases, students don't want to continue their future in the sport, so that's why they might drop out of it and rather play sports along with academics?
That's certainly a valid point, but when 70% is a very big percentage of student athletes who are dropping out, and compounded with my statistics of stress from being a student athlete and drug usage and alcohol abuse, it seems that a lot of this 70% are those who have suffered from immense anxiety being a student athlete.
That's time. Thank you very much, guys. Albert, you now have 4 minutes for your opening speech whenever you're ready.
All right, one moment. Let me get my timer ready. All right, I'll begin in 3, 2, 1, now. I always was too shy to participate in any activities with my classmates, too quiet to open up to my new school in 3rd grade. But then, a year later, I enrolled for my school's soccer team and everything changed. I needed to quickly communicate with my teammates to ensure we could win games, and this skill carried over to school as I was more open to talk and started collaborating and communicating with my peers for the first time. Since then, varsity sports have helped change me from the shy introvert who I was to the more articulate and resourceful person I am today. With that, participation in K-12 competitive sports does more good than harm because it increases teamwork, helps with scholarship, and helps with increasing and is a healthy source of entertainment. Firstly, participation in K-12 competitive sports helps with increasing teamwork, cooperation, and leadership. After you finish your work and go for schoolwork and go for a job or create your own business, these are three of the most absolutely necessary skills required for being successful. And varsity sports help give children a heavy edge in that department. As the Ohio State University states, sports offer us intense crucibles that help and events that bring teams closer together, which forces participants to communicate effectively. As HBH for all states, providing leadership training prepares youth to manage time, work in a team, set goals, start conversations, facilitate meetings, and make effective presentations. This all supports the idea of how competitive sports help make a difference in younger ages, which carries on to the rest of your life, helping you later on. Secondly, participation in K-12 competitive sports assists in obtaining scholarships. This can be supported as according to SBINation.com, colleges are looking a lot more towards competitive sports than they used to due to them providing better qualities in students. Additionally, better time management skills starts off in earlier years in sports. As Frichter 21 explains that as students who begin varsity sports in middle school have more time to get accustomed to that. As students who begin varsity sports in middle school have more time to get accustomed to better time management. Lastly, FA21 states that there are over 200,000 scholarships available for top schools, and in just basketball alone. This shows how for students willing to continue a career in sport, their future is already supported. Sports are easily helping students get into colleges whilst building them for long-term success with important developments in time management, along with providing stability for future athletes. Would you have your child missing out on these college opportunities? Lastly, participation in K-12 competitive sports is beneficial due to it being a healthy source of entertainment for kids. Throughout the years where children develop, kids need to be entertained as they have less things to do. And many younger children resort to video games or television. However, this is a problem as it decreases physical activity and can result in obesity. And whilst it may not sound like too much of a problem, Harvard reports that 1/3 of Americans are already obese. The side effects are deadly as well, as they can cause increased rates of heart pressure, diabetes, and cancer. And these issues combined are responsible for the deaths of 36% of Americans, according to the CDC, and all of this could be prevented with the use of competitive sports. Because when students play sports, they are keeping their body active by burning fat off. Additionally, sports are a great source of entertainment to keep students active. And as for the competition and the side joys of achieving goals in sports makes it far more enjoyable. Would you want to have fun, avoid awful medications, and prosper in the future at the same time? In conclusion, participation in K-12 competitive sports does more good than harm because it develops key workspace traits, assists in obtaining scholarships, and is a healthy source of entertainment. These three reasons, along with the heavy impacts and the amount of students that could be helped, showcase that these varsity sports are helpful and beneficial. Because of all this, I urge the judge to vote for a con ballot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate, you now have 2 minutes for cross-examination whenever you're ready.
I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Would you agree that skills such as teamwork and cooperation can be achieved elsewhere and not just through competitive sports?
Well, can you give me an example of where elsewhere it can occur?
For example, team debate.
Okay. Yes, they can. Whilst students can receive the same benefits, sports are a better option because not only does it help with teamwork and collaboration, but it can also help deal with better scholarships and also getting rid of fat at the same time. So it's a more optimal solution.
Thank you for your response. Your next point was about college admissions and how participating in competitive sports can help you get into college. However, there are millions of kids that are participating in competitive sports, and only a select few are good enough to get an athletic scholarship. Then is this really such a widespread benefit?
Well, as I stated, there are kind of like two different types of scholarships. One, academic, and when students are able to play a sport along with a decent GPA, what this causes is that it makes scholarships more likely for the academic side. And for the other side, for athletic reasons. What happens is that there are still over 200,000 scholarships available for these students willing to pursue an athletic career. So there's still a decent amount.
Then aren't there still millions of students that have dedicated their whole lives to competitive sports only to get no scholarship and to realize that a lot of the time that they spent on these competitive sports isn't really helping them get anywhere?
Well, there's not really too many numbers behind how many, but for the people that do end up in this sort of situation, there are still probably could be other ways for them to end up with scholarships and end up in good colleges, like maybe additional tryouts or maybe just build up their reputation through a club. So, yeah.
And you said that 36% of Americans die due to like a sedentary lifestyle. Is that adults or just
That's
all?
time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kate, would you like to take prep time before your refutation?
Yes, please. Could I have a minute?
Yes, your minute starts now. All right, Kate, that was 1 minute. You now have 3 minutes for refutation.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The lie that the con side is trying to sell you, the belief that participation in competitive sports means that you'll be healthier, means that you'll be building teamwork and cooperation, and it means that you'll be in a healthy environment is a lie. And beneath it lies a rotten and abusive system. The first point that the con side brings us is that participation in competitive sports brings teamwork and cooperation. However, first of all, this can be achieved through other means without competitive sports, and even if it is achieved through competitive sports, as I've explained in my opening speech, there are a multitude of harms that come exclusively with competitive sports that these students wouldn't be subject to if they were attaining teamwork and learning cooperation through other means. The second point that the con side brought us was that student athletes will have a better chance at college admissions. However, it's likely only the top athletes, and it's definitely not a guarantee for these athletes who are spending a big majority of their week participating in competitive sports. If you think about America and you think about how many student athletes there are, it's likely only the very, very top who are first place nationally that will be getting those scholarships in the first place. And the rest are thrown away, just like Matthew Langton, who I told you about in my opening speech, because all these clubs want and all the schools want are the next big star. And for a student athlete to realize that they aren't the next big star and thus they're going to be thrown away and they're not even going to be considered as worthy of having a chance is something that's extremely detrimental to a student athlete's health, because the goal of clubs is only to get to the top athlete and nothing else, as I told you from a quote that Matthew Langton's father told to The Athletic. Lastly, the point that the con side brought us was entertainment. However, competitive sports isn't really entertainment because the goal is to win. Otherwise, you'd be playing sports just weekly and for fun and not attending competitions every week. And thus, I ask you to vote for the pro. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. Albert, would you like to take any of your prep time?
I like to use a minute and 30 of prep.
Minute 30, okay. Your minute 30 begins now.
All right, I'm ready for a rebuttal. Oh, let me get my
Is
turn
that-
ready. I'm ready for a rebuttal. How much
Okay,
prep was-
thank you. You have
Yeah,
3
how much?
minutes.
What? You're cutting out.
Minutes for refutation.
All right. How much time of prep did I use?
You 1 minute and 30 seconds. You used your full time that you asked for.
All right, then I will begin in 3. Wait. I'll begin in 3, 2, 1, go. Starting off on defending my opponent's case, on my first contention about how sports can increase teamwork, she continually mentions how there are other ways to do this. However, in response to this, sports are the optimal solution for this, as other examples like team debates don't cover all the benefits that I cover. For example, in what you get out of competitive sports is that not only are you decreasing the amount of body fat you have, which helps lower your chance of being at risk for future issues, it also helps you obtain scholarships more at a higher rate compared to other extracurriculars, whilst dealing with getting higher teamwork rates at the same time, which shows how sports is the best solution out of this available. Moving on to my second contention about scholarships, my opponent attacks this by saying very, very few people receive scholarships, and we have to consider the amount of people, what happens to the people that have been trying their whole life but don't get a scholarship. Athletes considering a future in sports, however, don't need to receive a scholarship to get into the top leagues, as they can still be accepted regardless. And even though a tiny amount of people only get in, most of the people that try hard enough will be able to obtain scholarships anyways. And besides, moving on, there are still 2 different kinds of scholarships, academic and athletic. And my opponent did not respond to the academic side. Moving on to my third contention, which talks about how competitive sports are a healthy source of fun. My opponent states that it can be stressful, as most of the time the goal is to win. However, not all ages have such an emphasis on winning. If you're telling me that a second-grade soccer match has the same amount of emphasis from coaches to win compared to a varsity match in 10th grade, it doesn't make that much sense. Eustress, which is wanting to do better from stress, is a good thing, and not every case is distress. And it's important for students to learn how to deal with stress, with either form of stress regardless. It helps build a competitive mindset, which helps bolster student success in the future. And it helps prepare them with losing in a less risky environment and a more safe environment, which helps them in the future. One of the main reasons why they play the sport and why it's so fun is because of the competitiveness and achieving goals. So this actually can turn out to my side. Now, moving on to their case, their first case talks about coach abuse. And in response to this, and they talk about how coaches put extreme amounts of pressure on their players. However, it is unlikely that all ages have to deal with this, heading back to my earlier logic. As according to ESPN, most coaches start applying more focus on winning after high school. This entire argument is about K-12, not just high school. And besides, coaches will also be as abusive in other programs as well, which is guaranteed anyways. For example, robotics, where there's also big stress to win, and it'll be present either way. Moving on to my opponent's contention about personal identity, this can help turn to my side, as sports help build up key workspace traits that help build up communication, teamwork, leadership, and more. It's important for students to learn how to manage this. So even though there may be high rates of anxiety, students will learn how to counter it, and when it matters most later on in their life, they'll be prepared for it. Because of all this, I urge the judge to vote for a con ballot. Thank you.
Kate, would you like to take any of your prep time?
Yeah, could I have my last minute, please?
Yes. You have 1 minute starting now. That's time, Kate. And you have 2 minutes for your closing speech whenever you're ready.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The main reason why I win this debate is because of the impact of drug and alcohol abuse. I told you in my opening speech, and again in my refutation speech, of the immense harms that comes with abusing these sorts of substances. I told you 82% of student athletes abuse alcohol. That is an overwhelming majority. And this stems from a lack of support from coaches and a lack of support from parents, the two most important people who are supposed to be there to help student athletes and help them cope with the stress that they're supposed to be learning how to cope with. And because they're in such a hostile environment, an environment where they feel like they won't be supported if they need help, it's impossible for these student athletes to learn cooperation, to learn teamwork, to learn all these benefits that the con side brought us. And additionally, there's no need to subject these students to such harms when there are alternatives, even just normal sports, with not competitive sports, but sports that you play for fun. That is an incredibly valid alternative that students can take instead. Then the cons, in the cons world, even if students aren't being hurt at a kindergarten or primary level, they're being funneled through a system where they ultimately end up in high school, where they are being abused by coaches, and where they are experiencing the harms I talked about, drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And they're most certainly not in a safe environment if they're stressed out to the extent that they are abusing drugs and abusing alcohol and committing suicide, which is incredibly devastating harm that the con just fails to notice. However, in my world, students are supported and they feel safe in the environment that they're in. And thus, to support con is to encourage abuse and to support being a bystander while this abuse happens. And thus, I ask you to vote for the pro. Thank you.
I'd like to use the rest of my prep. So
Yes, you have 30 seconds remaining. Your time starts now. All right, Albert, that was your remaining 30 seconds. You have 2 minutes for your closing speech.
All right, let me get my timer set up. All right, I will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. Judge, I have won this round. My case is about how competitive sports can help with key traits, education, as well as supporting the mental and physical side to show this. My opponent's arguments about coach abuse and personal identity have been disproven. This mainly resides on the argument of how coach abuse will exist either way, and it doesn't occur at all ages. My opponent's argument about how sports increase drugs is also non-topical, as a lot of times these addictions stem from school, not sports. Additionally, my opponent continually talks about how the rates of suicide are a bad thing and can stem from sports. However, no numbers are really given just describing this, so you can't really vote on them for that. The idea of being able to learn how to counter all the stress, the burnout, and all of this helps build you up for a stronger future, which is one of the key ideas of this round. Judge, if you vote for pro, what you're saying is that we'll be taking the option of either recreational sports or no sports at all. The issue with recreational sports is that we don't receive the same amount of benefits that come with competitive sports. In competitive sports, you are more forced and you are more active as you spend more time working with your teammates to find the best solutions, which has a greater rate of increasing these supporting qualities and getting rid of obesity. It also helps, rec sports don't also have much education benefits. Judge, if you vote for Khan, you're voting for a world where our students continue to build off their skills, as they'll be able to be prepared for higher rates of stress. They'll be able to understand, they'll be able to prepare better and manage stress better. But if you vote for pro, what you're voting for are for the tiny amount of students that may have been abused by their coaches and may have committed suicide. Judge, we outweigh on magnitude as more people that play sports could benefit the results of it in comparison. And to leave you off on this note, why do so many people still play sports today if these damages could be there? Thank you.
Very much. That was a great round. Gabby and Nicole, if you'll just send me a DM or a chat with your vote. All right, guys, so that was a 3-0 decision for Kate. Kate, congratulations. You did an excellent job this round. Congratulations to both of you guys on being in the final round today. You both did an excellent job. It was a great round to watch, and we hope that we get to see you next quarter. To go. Can I get confirmation from another staff member who's in here?
You cut out for a second, Marissa, so.
Okay. I think we're good to go. Can I get confirmation from another staff member that all we need to do is end the meeting?
So will we be receiving like our ballots for this round, or will we get a run through of why you voted in now, or is it in ballots?
You'll receive your ballots sometime next week. They'll be released to you on Tabroom, okay? All right, guys, you are released for the day. Have a wonderful afternoon. And again, I hope we see you next quarter, okay?
Great job to both debaters, and congratulations, Kate and Albert, for making it to finals.
Yeah, congrats. You guys both did a really great job. It was an awesome round. So congrats to both of you.